It's Uncle Remus, spinning his warm, funny stories.
What black women are doing, I don't care. They're their own group. When they decide to work with us, they will. Otherwise, they won't. And they don't have to. They have their own power, their own productivity. They don't need us for anything. And I'm okay with that.
The key to happiness is to eliminate all black women from your life. I mean, look at me. No black women in my life. Look how happy I am. I'm happy as a nigga with a new gun.
Now, Ruckus, that
A motherfucker just supposed to take and accept whatever the fuck you say because I'm a black woman. Bitch, shut up. The fuck out of here.
Because there are a lot of people in this country who do not like black women. But black women are the base of the Democratic Party.
Tengo envidia de los valles, de los montes y los ríos.
There's a saying, oh, says that love is blind. Still we're often told, seeking you shall find. There's a saying, oh, says that love is blind. Still we're often told, seeking you shall find. There's a saying, oh. There's a saying, oh. There's a saying, oh. There's a saying, oh. Seeking you shall find. There's a saying, oh.
Welcome to the show. We are back. God is good. Enjoy Reid is out of the game. We're definitely going to have to start this show out with a solid, heartfelt hose mad. Say it with your chest, y'all. Hose mad.
Hose mad, hose mad, hose mad, hose mad, hose mad, hose mad.
This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology.
Time has expired.
My life was threatened. Thank you.
Hose mad, hose mad, hose mad, hose mad, hose mad, hose mad, hose mad.
One of the goals here is actually how do we get more African Americans in position of leadership, in positions of aviation, and that's one of the challenges. And I'll tell you, that's, I was going to be an engineer. I came in the Air Force to be an engineer. That was my original plan. I got a chance to fly in a aircraft when I was in ROTC when I was in college, and that really changed my mind. Now I wanted to become a pilot, and that's what I've been able to do for the past 37 plus years. These are the kinds of things that we are, as an Air Force, are looking, how do we engage with different diverse communities based on race and gender in particular. One of the goals here is actually how do we get more African Americans in position of leadership, in positions of aviation, and that's one of the challenges. And I'll tell you, that's, I was going to be an engineer. I came in the Air Force
as the commander of Pacific Air Forces, a senior leader in our Air Force, and an African American. Many of you may be wondering what I'm thinking about the current events surrounding the tragic death of George Floyd. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how full I am with emotion, not just for George Floyd, but the many African Americans that have suffered the same fate as George Floyd. I'm thinking about protests in my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, the equality expressed in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that I've sworn my adult life to support and defend. And thinking about a history of racial issues and my own experiences that didn't always sing of liberty and equality. I'm thinking about living in two worlds, each with their own perspective and views. I'm thinking about my sister and I being the only African Americans in our entire elementary school and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about then going to a high school where roughly half the students were African American and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about my Air Force career, where I was often the only African American in my squadron, or as a senior officer, the only African American in the room. I'm thinking about wearing the same flight suit with the same wings on my chest as my peers, and they being questioned by another military member, are you a pilot? I'm thinking about how I sometimes felt my comments were perceived to represent the African American perspective, when it's just my perspective informed by being African American. I'm thinking about some of the insensitive comments made without awareness by others. I'm thinking about being a captain at the Oak Club with my squadron and being told by other African Americans that I wasn't black enough since I was spending more time with my squadron than with them. I'm thinking about my mentors and how rarely I had a mentor that looked like me. I'm thinking about the sound advice that has led to my success. And even so, most of my mentors could not relate to my experience as an African American. I'm thinking about the pressure I felt to perform error-free, especially for supervisors I perceived had expected less from me as an African American. I'm thinking about having to represent by working twice as hard to prove their expectations and perceptions of African Americans were invalid. I'm thinking about the airmen that have lived through similar experiences and feelings as mine, or who were either consciously or unconsciously unfairly treated. Conversely, I'm thinking about the airmen who don't have a life similar to mine and don't have to navigate through two worlds. I'm thinking about how these airmen view racism, whether they don't see it as a problem since it doesn't happen to them, or whether they're empathetic. I'm thinking about our two sons. Now we had to prepare them to live in two worlds. I'm thinking about the frank and emotional conversations my wife and I have had with them just this past week as we discussed the situations that have led to the protests around our country. I'm thinking about my historic nomination to be the first African-American to serve as the Air Force Chief of Staff. I'm thinking about the African-Americans that went before me to make this opportunity possible. I'm thinking about the immense expectations that come with this historic nomination, particularly through the lens of current events plaguing our nation. I'm thinking about how I may have fallen short in my career and will likely continue falling short living up to all those expectations. I'm thinking about how my nomination provides some hope, but also comes with a heavy burden. I can't fix centuries of racism in our country, nor can I fix decades of discrimination that may have impacted members of our Air Force.
That the Trump Pentagon does not welcome Black people. They're discouraging Black people from joining. There's no home for women. We know also the CNO of the Navy, the Chief Naval Operations Officer, who was a woman, was also fired tonight. The commander of the
Air Force Vice Chief. We actually have the list up there. The Air Force Vice Chief was fired. The Lieutenant General was also fired, and then 3 JAGs were also fired.
Yes, so there was a purge of the lawyers, the senior lawyers, and the message there is that there's no rule of law left. It's a lawless purge. They removed the lawyers, and you have lawyers at every level of command. And it's a terrible message to send out tonight. And also, it's in the military, what we know is that we come from all different walks of life. We're different races. We have different economic backgrounds or different genders, and that there's no place for disrespect or a lack of respect for the dignity of soldiers.
One of the things to remember about CQ Brown, he was put in his previous position by Donald Trump, and Trump praised him when he did that. He actually was on duty today, as he always is. He was down at the border with our troops down there when this firing order came down. How can we look at this and not see this as just simply Pete Hegseth has decided that he is a symbol of DEI, and that's why he was fired?
I'm going to say he's a symbol of DEI.
He's definitely a symbol of DEI. And it's unfortunate that Trump was responsible for his elevation, I suppose, but that's the problem, man. You can't trust niggas, man. As soon as you turn your back, nigga do some gay shit, start talking about racism and reparations and equality and all of that shit. So now he got fired. He's out of the off. I mean, he's out of his position. I imagine he's out of the military. He's probably retired. You know, there's nowhere left for you to go at that level. It's not like he's going to get bumped down to lieutenant or something. You're not going to have him doing paperwork at the PX or something like that. Yeah, good riddance, though. We don't need you niggas. Don't trust them woke niggas over there. They be doing weird shit at night when nobody's looking.
I mean, this is maybe surprising. No, we've been saying about this. You know, Secretary Hegseth was talking about how he needed to go. But look at what Hegseth is talking about as the Pentagon as a whole. He is looking to completely restructure the approach that the previous administration had.
That's
so he's
not
going to be
why
replacing a lot of people.
That's not why Hegseth said he should be fired. He said he should be fired because he was, in his words, involved in DEI. CQ Brown, as far as we know, there's been no indication that he's been fired for cause, that he did anything.
This is why the internet is killing mainstream media. And, you know, I'm a tiny little channel. I crack 100 subs every now and then. I mean, 100 live listeners every now and then when I'm really on fire. Like, I'm a little guy, a little fish, you know, look, big pond, gigantic, enormous pond, little fish, right? But this pond has power. And what's happening is you can bust the narrative apart in real time. In just 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes of intro, I totally proved this woman a liar. I just made this nice, attractive, long-haired black woman a liar. Why does she have a job talking to millions of people, and a dude with a laptop and a microphone can prove her a liar in 3 minutes? This is the problem that the mainstream media is having. And I'm noticing a shift is happening with the media. They're attempting to adjust to the vibe shift. There's another CNN clip we're going to look at right after this one, but they're trying to adjust to the vibe shift, but they haven't changed. They want to be who they are, but they still want you to love them. It's weird. It's hard, man. It's hard.
Anything wrong, that even that he has some philosophical approach to war fighting that is different from the president's.
I mean, you serve at the pleasure of the president, though. That is the nature of these roles. And so the president is clearly looking to go in a different direction at the Pentagon. So he's going to put a new team in place to do that.
Well, I thought you were going to play that other clip in that, I think that same podcast where Pete Hegseth basically questioned CQ's qualifications because he was Black. And he said that in that podcast that, this is in the Associated Press story, his remarks saying, I don't know if he's qualified. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, because he was Black. So it's hard for anyone to read this other than the fact, as you pointed out, that this is a very directed purge that has nothing to do with philosophy.
I noticed something happened during the Biden administration. And I guess Joy Reid kind of rose to the top of the pyramid in this whole phenomena. But we hit peak saturation of left-leaning, liberal, often angry Black women. All your cable channels have Black women shows. They feature Black women as like well-respected guests and all that, and it's done as a feature, not just as a hey, yeah, she works here. You know, it's done as a hey, look at this one.
Philosophy that has everything to do with the faces of the military, which Pete Hegseth has said several times that he doesn't respect women soldiers and he doesn't respect people of color serving in these positions. And so by putting this out there, if you're in the military and you're a person of color, or even if you're just a person of color in this country, how are you supposed to feel seeing this?
Which is going to be an issue. There have only been two African Americans who've served as chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
I wonder if the POC wave has finally crested. Is it crashed and broken finally? Because it was undeniable. If you were a left-leaning POC, you could definitely ride that wave to some kind of success, some kind of benefit. And with the ending of the USAID program and Doge taking a lightsaber to a lot of the federal government, it seems like all of that free ride was paid for with stolen money. And now that the police are onto the case, you know, the free ride is over. The global gay disco is over. They cut the lights on. The disco ball not even spinning no more. It just smells like weed and sadness in the air now.
Chiefs. CQ Brown was the second. Right. Colin Powell was the first. And he's also now no longer the highest ranking Black officer in the military.
We've been hearing a lot about military readiness. A lot of these men and women who got their jobs lost today have spent their whole life dedicated to defending the flag and defending this country, no matter the color of their skin, just like you said. And I think that that's what we have to think about, military readiness, because that's what Republicans have been using to justify some of the DE&I stuff that's been going on within the military and all branches of the government now that Trump's in office. But these are real folks with real experience. You know, I've worked with groups like Vote Vets around the country and worked.
You know, I don't know who this guy is, so I'm gonna step lightly here. But the fact that he's on CNN with a cowboy hat, I wonder if he's like a part of this like left-wing meme. I mean, it's a right-wing meme about a left-leaning, conservative-looking guy. What was that TV show with what was it, Kevin Costner? And they got like a ranch, and they have all this ranch drama. And I think the TV show just ended. But when the show first came out, people kind of they liked the TV show. They talked Yellowstone. Thank you, big time. The TV show is called Yellowstone. And when the show first came out, it was kind of popular with the right, white people, because then it's ranchers and cowboy shit, so it's kind of aimed at white folk, right? And so people were kind of happy with it. They liked it. Kevin Costner's a big name. It's good to see him in a TV show instead of a movie for once, right? So people were liking it. And then what happened is, and I never really got into the show, so I can't tell you how it really happened, but people started to notice wokery in the show. And then the show itself became a left-wing meme. Well, it became a right-wing meme about the left. And so now you have all these woke memes of like Kevin Costner in his jeans and his cowboy hat and his boots, and he's sitting on the back of the truck, and he's like, I'm just as red-blooded as any other American, but I think a boy feels like a girl, he should play on the girls' team. That's just how I feel. God damn it, you can fight me to death over that one. Like they turned it into this folksy, down-home, liberal, homosexual meme. It's crazy as hell, but it became this thing. And looking at this guy, I'm like, I'm hoping you're not like one of those meme guys, man. Hey, shout out to Portia. This is a great Black History Month gift. Who says Trump don't give niggas nothing for Black History Month?
Work with folks who I admire every day because of the sacrifices they make for our country, and thinking about these folks that's done this under this auspice and the voter out there and in the focus groups the last election we were in. This is not, sure, everybody voted for change in some form or fashion, but I don't think this is the change they voted for. And I think there's going to be repercussions for this kind of anxiety now that we're going to have in a tenuous world.
Before you jump in, I want to ask you about something you raised too, the JAG situation.
Yes.
These are the military lawyers.
That's right.
That 3 of the highest ranking military lawyers were. They're saying they're accepting nominations. Presumptively, they're being fired. This is also a Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, who in his confirmation hearing, he was questioned about his use of the term jag-off, and he suggested that JAGs, rather than enforce.
Hold on. Uncut Underground says Jaguar Wright got a prestigious award at Mar-a-Lago too. Wow. Yeah, they did have a lot of you niggas celebrating with Trump for Black History Month the other day. They had this Black conservative party. I wasn't invited, of course, but maybe next year. Looked like good times. Looked like good times. Kodak Black was there. Apparently Jaguar Wright was there. Who knows? Niggas be doing it up now on the conservative side.
The law, they are trying to get promotion.
I don't think there was any twerking, but I know one of y'all hoes twerked. I know one of y'all hoes couldn't resist twerking at a White House event, even though I don't think it was at the White House. I'm just saying. You didn't get caught on video, but I know one of you bitches was twerking.
And that they don't have the best interest of rank and file soldiers.
Well, I deeply disagree with that conclusion.
We can't forget also Pete Hegseth advocated to Trump for pardoning people who were accused of war crimes.
Yes,
so put that all together.
Yes, I mean, the fact is he convinced Trump to issue pardons to 3 officers who were engaged in war crimes, and people witnessed that. And when you don't take accountability, that actually diminishes unit cohesion. Because when people are treated differently and it looks unfair, then that is a real demoralizing occurrence.
Have you guys seen military TikTok lately? Oh, shit, bro. We were so much better with Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Because remember, Don't Ask, Don't Tell never said, you couldn't join the military if you were a little bit, iffy or whatever. They just said, hey. Like, that was really the whole policy of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. The whole military was like, hey, nigga, just hey, all right, just all right now, just all right, just all right. That was basically Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And now it's just like, gay niggas sashaying down the runway as F-16s are taking off, bro. It's like the whole, they're voguing with the what are those communicator light flashy things that the runway control guy has? They're voguing down the runway. It's getting crazy, bro. We were better off with don't ask, don't tell. You know what I'm saying? Listen, you can be gay and fight for your country, but just like, hey, nigga, hey, all right, damn, nigga, damn. Like, that's all it was. Don't ask, don't tell. Looking back at it, it was actually a glorious time for the military. Like, shit was a lot more under control. Now, I don't know if this shit is really hitting like it used to, like it's supposed to.
And I would add that when you take out the top legal officers, you're talking about the White House sees itself as the law and order over the armed forces, but actually you need lawyers at every level of command. And I would add that this is a readiness issue, because what's happening now is that the Trump White House is playing a subtraction game, and the military has not been able to achieve its recruiting goals, and they certainly aren't going to be able to do that.
Nobody wanted to join your woke rainbow military flag army. Like, no.
With white men only. This is a very diverse.
See, that's historically, that is just simply untrue. And this is the problem with this infinite diversity quest that we're on right now. Historically speaking, not only have white men been the backbone of America's fighting men, but and that means like the military in the broadest possible terms, right? Now let's get down to the backbone of America's actual fighting men, the guys you drop off behind enemy lines, the guys you put on a fucking beachhead and tell them to blow up those concrete bunkers 50 yards on the shore or whatever, right? Like those guys, they come from kind of sort of one general region of America. There's an East Coast mountain range that just makes war fighters. Like the American war fighter tends to come from East Coast, small town America, up and down the East Coast, like that entire Smoky Mountain Appalachian range, from like northern Georgia to the Adirondacks and New York State. A lot of blood got shed by those guys. And you know what? And this is one of the things I noticed when I became a truck driver, is driving through these towns, and you will see the like, especially like on the main streets of these towns, you will see like all the flag posts will have pictures of their fallen dead who served. And a lot of these pictures are old as hell. But that's who's been the majority of America's warfighter. And MF Doom, no, this is not to take nothing away from the black part of the military. This is a numbers argument. It's purely about the numbers and the who shot John of it all, right? A lot of those guys come from East Coast small mountain villages and towns and shit like that. And so now, I mean, are we just gonna replace it all with like Latin America? Bunch of niggas from Chicago? You really think that's gonna really replace all of that? That's not a dare. That's not a bet I want to really take. You know what I mean?
To achieve its recruiting goals, and they certainly aren't going to be able to do that with white men only. This is a very diverse union. It's a unit, and it's probably the best example of America at its best. It's really a travesty.
And we keep hearing this refrain over and over and over and over and over again that America, well, first of all, diversity is our strength. That's the main refrain. And then it's if diversity is our strength, then we need more and more diversity. And so now we're at peak, we're at like maximum diversity here. We're at so much diversity, we're finally trying to turn the lever, and reverse the tide of this diversity. And Everybody's unhappy. Peak diversity correlates with peak misery, peak dysfunction, peak what's the word for it? Disharmony. We no longer feel like a unified nation of 50 states, right? We no longer feel unified. America feels like us and those weird, crazy people over there. And both sides of America generally legitimately feel like that about the other side. The left thinks it's weird and crazy that you won't like transgender your young son, and you don't like the fact that your daughter wants to get an advanced sex worker's degree and she's paying for it by stripping right now. You know, they think you're weird for that. I don't think diversity is really the strength that they told us it was. I'm starting to think diversity, especially like peak, infinite, balls to the wall diversity, I'm starting to think it's not that good. You know, like when you have it's like chocolate milk, right? You guys remember making chocolate milk? Did you guys have like this amazing childhood moment of taking, you guys remember Nestle Quick used to come in a canister of powder? Maybe it still does. I don't know. I don't do that shit no more. But you guys remember Nestle Quick used to come in a canister and it was powder. It was chocolate powder. You could just pour it in the milk. And as a kid, that kind of shit is like adult level responsibility when you're like 7, 8, right? And now I'm pouring all this chocolate into the milk, and it's chocolate milk, and it's delicious, right? It's amazing chocolate milk. Have you ever poured too much chocolate into the chocolate milk? Same thing with strawberry. Have you ever poured too much powder into the milk, right? There's a certain point where as much as you like chocolate, as much as you like chocolate milk, I kind of like the strawberry milk a little bit better, I ain't gonna lie. But as much as you like the taste of it, there comes a point where you poured one too many spoonfuls. And some of you guys was retarded project kids. You poured like 6 extra spoonfuls in there. And now this delicious classical Americana beverage is just unfucking drinkable. And that's what you're doing now. You're making this shit undrinkable. You're making America undrinkable. Nobody really wants this shit. Yeah, it might look pretty because it's all cool and pink and shit, but it's unfucking drinkable. It's too much responsibility for a little kid to have, I'm telling you. It's way too much. I don't know what the hell you guys were thinking. Should have gave me that shit in like an individual serving, like a Capri Sun or something. You got me in the house just pouring scoops of powdered something into a cup of milk like a madman. Jesus Christ, it was amazing. I noticed CNN, they're trying to cope with this new landscape. They're adjusting to this new, they're attempting to adjust to the new podcast competition. And I noticed they have a new show. They're trying something new. You got to give them, you got to applaud them. You know, you got to golf clap when people try something new. I think it sucks, though. I think it's lame as hell, but they're trying it. It's kind of like news comedy, which is weird for me to hate on somebody who tries to do the news and be funny at the same time, right? Like, how dare you corny ass nigga, right? But they're trying to take my shit, you motherfucker.
It was a Donald Trump book signing. Oh, Russia, Ukraine. Oh, gosh. Saudi Arabia? Donald Trump is embarrassing us all around the world. Yes. And that has been the story since Trump was born.
The story is President. And yes, yeah, it's led by all the POCs too. To be Dubs and this nigga named Roy. Shout out to Roy. Roy harmless. Roy ain't never said a bad word to nobody's face ever in his life.
President Trump schooling the world on the art of the deal, or as he so eloquently puts it, You have to get people in, grab them, hug them, kiss them, and get the deal done.
Kiss them.
Yes. The non-consensual groping, that's what makes the deal art. President Trump's first order of business was ending the Russia-Ukraine war. Before peace talks officially began, what did our deal maker in chief demand from Ukraine?
Half of all of their natural resources, right?
In exchange for American support, Trump demanded a 50% share of Ukraine's revenue from critical minerals, oils, gas, their ports, and infrastructure. Peace talks kicked off in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, aka the Switzerland of the Middle East. Who was invited to the table?
Russia.
And more importantly, who was not invited?
Not Ukraine.
This is like, say it's your birthday.
Yeah.
We want to surprise you.
Yeah.
Wait, I think the girl's gonna be funny. Hold on. I was waiting for something funny to happen. That's why I didn't want to interrupt it yet. And I was just waiting. And I think the funny is about to happen right now. Here goes.
Not Ukraine.
This is like, say it's your birthday.
Yeah.
We want to surprise you.
Yeah.
We all get together at your apartment. We do not invite you.
And then on top of it, surprise, we took half your shit. Donald Trump lives by one song. It was the Beach Boys.
I swear to God, I'm funnier than CNN, bro. That's not even supposed to be a thing because you guys are supposed to be a news channel. But now the news has niggas telling jokes, bro. That's my thing. That's my thing. I'm the nigga telling jokes about the news. Now CNN want to do my shit. And look how lame they are.
Hit back in the day. Aruba, Jamaica, Panama, I'm going to take you. Bermuda, Bahama, Greenland, come home to your mama.
And I freestyle this shit every night. You got paid writers. You paid to be this corny. If I say something that's not funny, oh, well, it was for free. I was just practicing. You niggas spent money on this shit. Oh, God. It's bad when they try to steal your moves. It's worse when they do it poorly. If you're going to copy me, at least do it right. God damn.
Key Largo, Toronto, Trudeau, why don't we go? Off the Mediterranean Sea, there's a place called Gaza Lago. That's where we've got to go to get some new USAID.
Did you write that?
I did.
You did.
Somebody actually wrote that. Yeah. Somebody paid for that. Jokes paid for by the United States government, sponsored by USAID.
I'm supposed to prepare a song because, honey,
we can freestyle a song right here.
You've been a big supporter of Ukraine.
I have.
So when Trump blamed Russia for attacking Ukraine, surely you spoke out on the floor of Congress.
I actually did speak out in support of Ukraine. Look, this conflict needs to come to an end. I think we can all agree on.
And they're dead serious, though. I watched this clip earlier trying to really understand what was going on here, because this is an 11-minute clip, right? They're really serious about this comedy shit about the news, though. They really seriously trying to be funny about being serious, though. You understand how psychotic they are right now? They are seriously trying to be funny about being serious. And it's fucking with my mind. I do not turn on CNN to see a nigga in the suit telling lame jokes, bro. That is what Comedy Central is for. We got a whole other cable channel for that type of shit. But you want to put this nigga on the news where I'm talking, I expect to see shit about war and some major crime happened. Somebody went to jail. This nigga Roy telling corny jokes with his white friends, bro.
On that. And Ukraine should have been at the negotiating table and should be as we move forward. But that ultimately, there's going to have to be a negotiation.
CNN, Acadia. To be fair, let's check in with the Russian media to see what they're saying about Trump and Putin.
Это хороший день для нашей политики, для нашего руководства, для нашей дипломатии и для нашей страны, да.
Russian deal or no deal is some crazy shit. It looked like you die if you guess the wrong money case. Goodness gracious. Trump has fudged.
These niggas can't believe how serious Russian television looks. Yes, they're very serious people over there.
many details about the war in Ukraine, but his biggest whopper might have been the false claim that Ukraine started the war with Russia. Of course, the Republicans,
you had to be there. And of course, I covered that type of shit. Yeah, we did kind of goad Ukraine into fucking with Russia. Ukraine was definitely doing things that Russia just might bomb you for. And we gave them the money. That's the crazy part about it. We gave them the money, gave them a handful of coke, and here, sniff this. Go fuck with that nigga Vlad over there. Go tell him his mom is a bitch. That's exactly what we did to Ukraine, I swear to God. Now half of them are dead, and we think it's funny.
They are the party of Reagan, and they've been famously anti-Russia for decades and decades. So selling out the West to Putin must have bothered some Republicans. Mike, you're an elected Republican. Do you have any thoughts?
As far as I'm concerned, Vladimir Putin needs to be beat back in and out of Ukraine. There has to be a negotiated settlement here, which is why it's so critical to get Zelensky to the table with Putin.
Okay, so we know how Mike feels as a Republican on this matter. Let's see how some of his colleagues feel.
He makes Jeffrey Dahmer look like Mother Teresa.
Why Mother Teresa catching strays? So now we know.
Dave, that is crazy. Dave Dritcher in the chat says, CNN was the channel that brought us Tomahawk, shock and awe. Now look at him. Bruh. Got this nigga Roy trying to be funny for the hoes. That is falling off. I didn't really know what falling off for a cable news network looks like, but this gotta be it, bro.
What they're saying, but what are they gonna do about it, Mike Lawler?
This conflict occurred under Joe Biden.
Oh, so it's Biden's fault.
It is.
Oh,
If you-
okay. That's right.
Is your position now that we should give Ukraine all the weapons and they should be used as far into Russia as possible?
My position early on was that.
But no, I'm saying now though.
My position early on.
I know, but now, do you think we should? I know, but now, do you feel like we should give them all the weapons? And
Are they all from The Daily Show? I just kind of thought about that for a minute. Are all of you Daily Show alumni, except for this one guy here? He's an actual elected official. He's like a representative or something. But these three, the three black people and this one guy here, I swear they're all from Jon Stewart's Daily Show.
and let them just strike as far into Russia as they want? Because it seems to be what you're advocating that Biden should have done.
No, they should have been.
Right, but now.
Earlier on, they should have been.
Yeah, but now, what should they do?
No, in the current environment, they're in a very weakened position.
Are they on the same team?
Apparently not.
If this show didn't have a laugh track, do you think people would know where to laugh? What parts to laugh at? Would people find this funny at all? Because I just realized they have a laugh track like it's Full House or something. Like it's Family Matters. Filmed in front of a live studio audience. Like, really, bro? You know nobody's actually in the audience laughing at this, right? There's not an audience to laugh at this, bro. It's just you guys in a studio with a bunch of other guys holding cameras and shit. Like, there's no audience. I'd be shocked. Maybe there is an audience and I'm tripping. Maybe there are people who really do find this funny and I'm just behind the times. I don't know.
Why is Europe so concerned?
Trump and his administration are giving every indication that they're going to abandon Europe and abandon our commitments to NATO. How do you feel about that?
No, I don't think they're abandoning our commitment to NATO.
They've said they're going.
I think the objective, respectfully, the objective.
Oh, maybe there is a live audience. Okay, maybe it is the Daily Show audience. All right, I take it back. They got real people.
The objective is obviously to have NATO allies pick up more of the slack.
Oh, they got to kick in. Okay.
The art of the deal.
We just call it, kick in.
You got to put 5 on it.
You could have just said kick in. I'm teaching you how to talk shorter, like a congress. Next time somebody asks you this question on the Hill, you just go to motherfuckers and kick in.
They gotta kick in. I got.
This is on CNN. You can go to CNN and listen to people talk about actual political events where the host will say, and I quote, "Motherfuckers ain't kick in." This is CNN. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what kind of move this was, but this is a wild move. This is a really wild move. And especially on the with the news, with the shocking news that the biggest name in Black cable media has gotten the axe. I don't know what the hell. This is going to be wild. This is going to be a hell of a 4 years. Everybody is in turmoil. Nobody knows what the right move is. Niggas trying anything. They firing bitches. Shit's crazy. Shit's crazy. Before we talk about Joy Reid, there's one other thing I want to get into, though. Your boy Roro. America is under siege.
To provide social and health services. Folks, this is an important issue because, again, what you're seeing them trying to craft policies that are detrimental to marginalized citizens. Demetria McCain is the director of policy with the Legal Defense Fund. She joins us now from Washington, D.C. Let me say this here because we're about to do this interview. So in about 3 minutes, what's going to happen is I'm going to actually log off. I have to do Ari Melber's show on MSNBC. Michael will continue the conversation with the panel, and then I'll come back. So just letting y'all know that right now. So Demetria, walk us through the basis of this lawsuit.
Certainly happy to do so. And thank you for having me on, Roland. As you mentioned before, this lawsuit that we challenge is challenging 3 of the executive orders that President Trump signed, all related to diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and transgender people. And so in the lawsuit, we claim that the executive orders will severely limit the organization's abilities to actually provide some critical social and health services, such as HIV treatment, fair housing, counseling, equal employment opportunities, affordable credit, civil rights protection, and many, many others.
You know, I remember I was on, was it John Galt's channel? I think I was on John Galt's channel, and I was having this conversation with a I don't know who the guy's name was. I think it escapes me at the moment, but I remember having this conversation with somebody, and I was trying to explain to them that Black America is far too heavily dependent on the federal government, on the government in general, state, federal, however you want to break it down. Like the irony, if you really want to get like brutal, the irony of something like the reparations argument is technically white America has been opening its pockets to Black America forever. And what do I mean by that? When you think about not just welfare in the broad sense, like, you know, food stamps or actual cash benefits and whatnot, but then when you look at, like, you know, the medical stuff, just all the myriad governmental programs that help the minorities and the poor, this and that. The reality is very simple. Black folk don't contribute enough to the tax budget to actually pay for our tax burden, if you understand what I mean. It's kind of like the feminism argument. Women take way more out from the government than they actually do put in with their labor. And so they wind up getting a lot of free shit that men pay for. It works the same way with Black and white in America, right? the white population of America pays the overwhelming majority of these bills in terms of tax burden. And so now we have a guy like Trump who was cutting the fat from government expenditure, and a lot of that means cutting you niggas off the government tip. It's a simple mathematical reality. If more you niggas was taking care of yourselves directly, you wouldn't feel the direct pinch from government cuts, would you? Skills issue.
And so this would harm countless of people across the United States, including Black people, other people of color, women, LGBTQ plus people, people with disabilities, just as was referenced earlier, people living with HIV. And so the lawsuit was filed on behalf of 3 nonprofit organizations. Some of them might be familiar with. National Urban League was one, National Fair Housing Alliance, as well as
Uncut Underground say he got me fucked up. I'm at $1,000 a month in taxes, bro. I feel your pain. I know the pain of paying taxes, but that's not really mathematically relevant, Ty. Like, look. Per capita, right? I don't even want to get into. I've said I've laid out the case. I've made the point. The numbers are on my side. I'm only gonna fight you with those 2 words, bro. Uncut Underground. Per capita, my nigga. That's the reality of it. It's per capita. I need no other words. Those 2 words are the bane of the Negro's political argumentation. You say per capita, niggas start acting like vampires in the sunlight.
was the AIDS Foundation of Chicago. And so it goes on in the lawsuit to claim that the administration is actually violating the organization's rights to free speech and due process rights, as well as engaging in actual intentional discrimination by using and enforcing the anti-equity orders. All right. Now, these 3 orders that we're challenging, they do some things. They terminate equity-related grants, all right? And they forbid federally funded entities from engaging in diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility programs, and from recognizing the existence of transgender people. And so together...
I personally love that. I don't even know if I can trust her phrasing of it, because, you know, they're very clever with the lies on TV. That's why you got to stop watching TV. Like, watch me and I'll watch TV for you and I'll tell you about all the stuff they be doing. But I hope it really is worded like, we no longer recognize the existence of transgender people. I hope it's stated plainly and is coldly in black and white and bold type font. I hope they type that part in even bigger letters than the rest, right? I want that type font to be like 4 or 5 points larger than the rest of the letters. Like, we do not recognize the existence of the transgenders, right? Because you know what the transgender community has been loving to say? They've been saying this over and over for the last 4 years. You're dead naming me. If you don't recognize me, it's like you're murdering me. All right, well, do you feel dead now? You don't exist. How about that? Do you feel dead now? With the stroke of a pen, you niggas ain't real. Where's that thick bitch that was on the plane seeing shit? This motherfucker's not real. Yes, you motherfuckers are not real anymore. That was magical.
The orders actually reverse actual decades and decades of civil rights progress, folks. And also they pose an existential threat to organizations that actually advocate for civil rights and the rights of transgender people, people who are actually trying to help people get shelter and have services. So really critical rights that are impacted here in the lawsuit. And so we're hoping to get a favorable decision, but we just filed it this week.
But again, that's what their goal is. I mean, their goal is to actually, I did a piece, shortly after inauguration saying MAGA's goal is to defund Black America. They want to attack the civil rights and the economic rights infrastructure.
Now, this is an argument of strategery, as far as I'm concerned. Let me explain what I mean. And I've said this many times. This is a years old talking point that I got a grandstand on now. But from the beginning of my commentary on this so-called gender war issue, I have been on the side of politics. You niggas is not gonna talk these women off the ledge. You are not gonna convince them to love you better. You're not gonna romantically prove to them that you are the one. That shit's done. It's not how this game is played. And what you're going to find out is that you actually have to be willing to wage something that amounts to war on these women, right? And this is what it should look like. Because when he says defund the Black community, he's really talking about a bunch of single-parent households. The Black community, broadly speaking, is a bunch of single-parent households, and the politics of it support a more matriarchal way of life, right? It doesn't really support your traditional father knows best type of living structure. And it's, you know, it's the longhouse in politics form is what you're dealing with here. And so you have to defund the longhouse. That's what he's saying right now. And so the trap though, is as Black men, because, you know, when the community are together and shit, you're supposed to now be willing to join with the people, the women who were never your allies up until they needed your muscle. That's the play right now. You weren't allies in the courthouse. You're not allies when you're lining up to get these benefits. But now when the budget's getting slashed, they need you niggas to stand up and fight.
Right. That's exactly right. I mean, and we know a lot of the work, for instance, that the National Urban League does, right? So they are the largest historic civil rights and urban advocacy organization that's committed to elevating the standard of living for Black Americans, as well as other underserved people. And also they're very, very out front about their support for people.
Hey, like that video from me, y'all. If you haven't done so before, do me a favor, follow me over on Rumble, where you can support the show directly with a Rumble chat. You can also support the show. Find me on Venmo at The Hoodservative.
People in the LGBT community. And so the work they do really tries to empower people economically, right? So just to your point, Roland, to disarm that is really hurting swaths of our people.
Okay, Dimitri, this is Michael M. Hotep. So before I go to the panel with questions, one of the questions I had, because I've been following this and I read some of the executive orders. We know that Donald Trump rescinded Executive Order 11246, which is affirmative action dating back to President Lyndon Baines Johnson, 1965. And oftentimes we hear in the African American community, well, the number one beneficiary of DEI are white women, okay? And we don't benefit that much from DEI, so it doesn't hurt the African American community. There's an article from blackenterprise.com that talks about how only 4% of diversity, equity, and inclusion jobs go to African Americans.
Yeah, we saw those numbers over here too, bro. It's crazy numbers, crazy. Makes me wonder why you 4%ers are fighting so hard. It boggles the mind. 4%? You niggas doing all of this for 4%? If you were to take a pizza, right? Like, imagine going down to your favorite pizza shop. And, you know, if you cut a pizza, normally, what do you get? Like 8 slices out of a pizza? I'm not even going to do the percentage on that. I'm not ready for that type of math. I'm just saying, how small of a slice do you think 4% of that pie would look like? About like wide as a belt, maybe? Hell, that slice might not even be wide as the pepperoni that you put on there. 4% of the pie. You niggas doing all of this for 4% of a pie. It's not even good pie. It's not even a good pizza. It's that nasty pizza made by niggas from Pakistan.
So can you talk about how maybe more specifically the type of harm that will happen to the African American community if we can't get these executive orders from Trump rescinded when it deals with equity grants, when it deals with job opportunities, economic opportunities, things of that nature pertaining specifically to the African American community?
Absolutely, happy to do so. So let's think about, I talked about the National Urban League, right? Let's talk about the National Fair Housing Alliance. The National Fair Housing Alliance is the country's only national civil rights organization that is dedicated solely to eliminating all forms of housing and lending discrimination. If anybody's been reading the newspaper in the last, let's say 2 years, you've heard about appraisal bias. This is one of the things that they focus on, right? And that appraisal bias is really, as I call it, appraisal discrimination, is really targeted at Black households, okay? And so if you take away the funding of this organization, you're crippling them from being able to do that type of work, okay? And so they've been doing long.
Let's pierce the veil a little bit. At the same time, you're telling me that this alleged anti-Black phenomenon is targeted at, quote, Black households, right? We've also learned that Black women are buying most of the houses in Black America. Single Black men have little need to buy a home. Black women tend to have children at some point in life, so buying a house makes more sense to you. So that shit ain't really affecting me is what I'm trying to say.
Long-standing outreach on these types of things, housing counseling that they provide people. They're looking at artificial intelligence as it relates to fair housing and housing discrimination. I would say out of the categories of fair housing complaints that are filed with the federal government, for instance, disability is up there. Most complaints are disability, but the second biggest group relates to race based on fair housing discrimination, right? And so if we cut off the legs of organizations like this because they are actually pushing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, then we're cutting off a lot of the supports that they give the Black community.
Okay, and I had another follow-up question. When you talk about equity grants, okay, give us more information, more details. What exactly are equity grants? How?
Just on the name of it, an equity grant, it sounds like free money given in the hopes of making you more equal. And they're giving this shit to women like crazy, apparently.
How have these grants been able to help African American organizations, things like that? Because a lot of times when people don't know that different policies exist, they don't miss it until it's gone. They feel the impact when it's gone, but don't really realize what it is, before it's taken away. So give us some more details on what exactly are equity grants and how do they help African American organizations?
Well, if we think about it, I know you mentioned earlier, people felt as if in the employment space, right, that Black people were not benefiting that much. But if you think about it, there are organizations who simply because of historic barriers, historic discrimination, simply are not able to get some of those opportunities that a lot of other organizations get, right? Because let's say, for instance, their focus is the Black community or their focus is some other marginalized community, right? And so grants and contracts, I will say, not often, but sometimes do really go to people who are going to target those communities, okay? And so that's what I meant earlier when I said you kind of cut off the legs of the organizations that are specifically trying to help the Black community and other underserved communities. Those are the types of things we're talking about. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I want to go to my panel here. We'll start with Matt. Start with the attorney on the panel. Matt, did you have a question for Demetria?
I sure do. I first have a comment. Thank you for the good work you're doing. It's
all right. So counting Roland, that's 1, 2, and now 3 Black men lined up on this panel. to listen to this black woman talk about trying to keep her government bag. Amazing.
This is not easy work, and I appreciate y'all carrying the mantle. And I kind of have a couple questions in that respect. So I'm interested particularly in the speech and how it's framed. I haven't read the lawsuit, of course, but is it essentially like a viewpoint discrimination argument, basically that because they're advocating for DEIA, the federal government is infringing on their speech, or is there some other way that that's being framed? And as it relates to the Fifth Amendment, I thought that was really interesting. That's where I thought you were going to go with the due process. Is there precedent in history in terms of the federal government being stopped or enjoined from certain actions that are, comparable to this under the Fifth Amendment? I'm asking because I haven't seen many examples, and I'd love to see kind of some of the precedent.
Yeah, I tell you that I'm not prepared for to give you the examples at the very moment. But to your first question, which I believe was about the free speech piece of it, absolutely. Because see, these organizations that are plaintiffs in this case, they have a mission, right?
Right.
And within their missions, they're focused on particular communities, particular type of discrimination, particular types of things that are exactly the things that the Trump administration is going after, right? And so that's the viewpoint that they have, that they share, and they publicly espouse what their mission is and what their points are, right?
I remember hearing conversations going around the black manosphere recently over the last couple years, the hose is winning wave that happened. Everybody was kind of black pilling, oh, the hose is winning. I don't know what you niggas is doing. It's over. The hose won. And this is how they were winning. All this government money, all these myriad programs, all this invisible expenditures being aimed at them. I mean, maybe they were winning for a minute, but the winning is over now. Yeah, the hose is homeless now.
And so when we talk about free speech and First Amendment, that gives.
Oh, and real quick, shout out to True Hype. I didn't see this. This is a few minutes ago. Shout out to True Hype with the $5 Rumble chat. He says, just immediately reminded me. Now he quoting DMX. Used to be my dog. Well, actually, this is the Locks. Used to be my dog. You was in my left titty. Scream, ride or die. Thought you would die with me. Found out you would be. You can't even ride with me. Shout out to True Hype with the $5 Rumble chat. Do me a favor, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. And support your boy.
I need that money.
Gives you a sense of kind of what's at stake here.
Okay, Matt, did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, actually, I did have a follow-up question. And Dimitri, I'm sorry if I'm going too into the weeds, but I'm really interested in this. So, obviously, if this were between, let's say, two members of different states, you might use the 14th Amendment to say equal protection, right? Is there a corollary under the Fifth Amendment that allows you to say essentially that these organizations that are the plaintiffs are being treated differently than organizations that are not, espousing viewpoints that are offensive to the Trump administration? I mean, not under the due process clause, but I mean, under an equal protection theory. Is there a way to allege it that way?
Well, I don't want to go outside the four corners of the complaint since it's just pending, and everybody's welcome to take a look at that on our website. But I mean, if you're talking about comparing these complainants to others who have others, let's say United Way, for example, and I don't want to point them out specifically, but let's say a group like that helps everybody, right, without specifically focusing on issues of race. Those types of organizations are not likely to have their funding put at risk or taken away from them versus these types of organizations. So there's a big difference in how these
the problem with all this government funding to help the poor, and don't get me wrong, I have a heart, allegedly, and I understand the need that poor people have, and it's better off as a nation that we make some small efforts to keep the poor from at least starving to death in the street, right? I accept that kind of logic and rationale. But it begs the question, though, what did people do before the government just gave everybody free stuff? Did everybody just starve?
Organizations who espouse the need for civil rights, right, and the elimination of discrimination versus those who are silent on it. Big, huge difference there.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Next, I want to go to Zabora. Zabora, did you have a question for Demetria?
Yeah, I do a lot of work with individuals with disabilities, and just to think of how some of those equal protections are being impacted under how these executive orders are impacting those equal protection rights when it comes to things like the work opportunity tax credit, different research that for research grants that find out how individuals with disabilities or how individuals with other minorities are being impacted by this. Do you think that this lawsuit will allow other individuals to be able to file lawsuits of their own? And how can we ensure that we are supporting them in the best ways that we can? And how much protection do they have under the ADA laws to protect them, to present a case that will allow them to really combat these executive orders?
I tell you, I'm so glad you touched on that, and I really appreciate your comments that you made it earlier. I would definitely plus up those. So, you know, the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act is what she was talking about, folks. There's the American Disabilities Acts, there's Title VII, Title VI, all of these civil rights acts. Honestly, folks, you know, there's a lot of misinformation and falsehoods that the president is spreading about what power he has with the pen.
I really want to run an experiment. There's no way for me to like really game this out in my own mind, but I just let me pose a question to you guys listening out there, and especially all you guys who've been in the manosphere for a long time. You've been a part of these gender war kind of conversations and whatnot. What do you suppose the relationship between Black men and Black women would look like without all of this government intervention, without so many programs to help the poor, without so many programs to give women a boost, without so many programs to feed the babies and all that? What do you suppose the relationship between Black men and Black women would look like? And the shout out to True Hype again with another $2 Rumble chat. He says the government is the reason a lot of charity dried up at the local level. Plus, they are more efficient and effective in general, not really pointing at nonprofits. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, speaking of private charity, I saw a story recently. It's buried in my bookmarks now. It'd take me forever to dig it up, but I saw a story and I had the clip of it. There was a church somewhere probably in the South. I don't know exactly where, but there was a Black church, Black pastor, Black congregation, you know, all that. And this girl, it's a young teenage girl in the church. She gets pregnant. As teenage girls do every now and then, she gets pregnant, right? And so the clip went viral because the girl who had gotten pregnant, apparently the pastor had this girl come in front of the church and address the church and apologize for letting the church down. And that was it. It was really brief. I don't think she made a big giant spectacle of it, but she just, I'm sorry for letting everybody down. And then after that, it was the church, we're going to support you and all of that, right? But he brought her in front of the congregation, which I actually liked the move, right? And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because private charities, before the government was trying to save everybody and be everybody's mommy and daddy and shit, private charities would have strings attached, right? You can't just get this money, nigga. And so what would happen is, if you want to accept whatever charity is available, then you have to meet certain criteria. You have to behave in certain ways. And it had the overall effect, I guess, of maintaining at least certain standards in poverty or whatnot. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. But the general idea is you couldn't be a lazy son of a bitch and expect people to get you money. But now we have the government to just give you things. If you're a girl, especially. If you're a straight guy, I mean, they'll give you a little bit of food stamps, but that's pretty much it.
Under quote unquote laws that he's creating, right? These statutes have been on the books for absolute decades. And to the extent that these laws have protected people in the past,
Oh, my bad. Looks like we just had a little glitch here. But you know what? Anyway, this is actually a perfect minute for me to jump over here because I'm going to jump over to the Joy Reid story now. We got to talk about Joy Reid. So, as you know, Joy Reid, she lost her job. I'm not sure what the details of her contract state, but Joy Reid is out of a job hosting her 7 p.m. show with MSNBC, right? So now that Joy Reid is out of a job, somebody has to take that slot. This is Joy Reid's essentially her replacement. They got rid of Joy Reid and replaced her with 3 niggas. Well, 3 people, I guess you can say, because you got Simone Sanders over here, the biggest of backs. I mean, oh my God, this is a burly, husky broad right here. And then you got the Rhino trader, Michael Steele, who exclusively does left-wing liberal content after being the RNC president. Go figure. And I think this is the daughter of Bob Menendez from New Jersey. He just went to jail because he was cheating. He was fraud.
The county commissioner said this hours before Donald Trump would make this claim on the debate stage, where it was amplified by 67 million people. Mr. Chairman, I just wonder. The DNC has put out statements. Democrats have been forcefully, beating back this conspiracy theory, this racist lie, the rhetoric. But what else can anyone do? Because the Attorney General of Ohio is perpetrating this lie. The former president of the United States of America, who could be elected again, is perpetrating this lie.
The U.S. senator
is perpetrating this lie, and not just J.D. Vance, Ted Cruz.
Yes.
What? People could die.
People could die and will probably get hurt as a result of it. And you just think about it. If these people get back into the White House, now they have the most powerful microphone on the face of the planet to continue to perpetuate these type of lies. And they will do it. And that
So MSNBC is basically going to replace Joy Reid with 4 smaller, more diverse Joy Reids, basically. It's going to be the same exact show, but just different people, probably talking less crazy. Because Joy, she kind of went off the deep end a little bit every now and then. I remember years ago I did a show. It was Tucker Carlson versus Joy Reid. And you guys remember Tiffany Cross? During the Biden years, they were at peak Keisha levels. There was so much Keisha going on in cable news. It was incredible.
That's why this election is so important. This is why we have to keep these folks, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, as far away from the White House as possible, because they're going to bring the Laura Lomers and the other folks right into the White House to continue to perpetuate these type of lies that hurt the American people. And, you know, I really wish the laws were such that you hit these people in their damn pocketbooks. If you are going to do stuff and somebody gets hurt as a result of it, then somebody should have recourse and then say, okay, it was you who caused us, and therefore you're directly responsible for it, and so you should pay for it. And so, because sometimes that's the only thing that some of these people understand is a little of that. And so it's just sad to see this in American politics. Our vice president, our Madam Vice President, the president of the United States.
But yeah, this is the type of show that's going to replace Joy Reid in the next few days. She is at about a weekend. I mean, she's got about a week left. She's got to finish out this week, apparently, which that's cold. That's cold. I mean, she could just walk off, say, fuck y'all, I'm done. Give me my severance package. I'm out of here. Now, let's take a look at cable news's new official big back queen, Simone Sanders. I hate the way they promote. And we spoke about this on a previous stream, the promotion of black women, like they promote them like an object to be sold or whatever. And I just hate this object. Like, sell me a better bitch, bro. Jesus Christ. What are you guys doing?
Hey guys, what's up? We have a meeting with some tribal leaders.
Just burly. Just burly. Just look like she'd shoulder check you and knock you into the wall or something. And you got that battle ready haircut. I don't like this version of women. No, I don't like them big back and burly. Because for one, I know that belt you got on is having the time of his life right now. That belt she wearing, it's like the Spider-Man meme where he's trying to keep the fucking train from splitting apart. And then with the haircut, you're just very manly. Like, I know she walking in heels and she got on that big girl's belt, so it looks like she has an hourglass, right? But I know that belt is a lying ass bitch, bro. That belt is a lying motherfucker. Ain't nobody in this world as dishonest as her belt right now. I ain't never been lied to so hard in my life. The lies that belt trying to tell me right now. The fuck is going on here? No. I refuse to believe. I refuse to believe in what this belt is trying to sell me. Yeah, pear-shaped. Fucking bowling pin shaped. Oh, shit. But yeah, that's your girl in them.
In the vice president's ceremonial office, and I need some more lemonade.
All right, and what do you do here at the White House?
I have the pleasure of serving as a senior advisor and chief spokesperson for Vice President Kamala Harris.
What got you interested in politics in the first place?
What got me interested in politics? You know what? Growing up, I used to watch the news all the time. As a teenager, I know, very weird. And I used to think when sitting there watching the news.
So you were a weird kid, huh? You were a weird kid and now you all growed up. Gotcha. Theater kids, y'all. Remember, it's the age of the theater kids. And really, I think theater kids is not really accurate enough because a lot of you dorks don't do plays anyway. This is Revenge of the Nerds. That's all this really is. It's Revenge Revenge of the Nerds. And remember, in Revenge of the Nerds, the one black guy on the crew, he wasn't even like particularly smart. He wasn't a nerd or nothing. He was just a rich gay. He was rich and gay and black. They were forecasting. And in the industry, we call this foreshadowing. That's what we have right now. It's Revenge of the Nerds and the rich gay blacks. Yeah. Yeah. Longhouse, government longhouse style.
Why are they saying it like this? Strange thing to think, and I often thought it around politics. And then I realized later on that politics isn't anything but a bunch of people who get in a room and decide what the messages are, and then they tell a bunch of other people how to communicate those messages through events, through press, through all kinds of things. And I realized the people in that room didn't look like me, okay? Not a lot of them, at least. They weren't young. They weren't bald black girls from Nebraska. They weren't from the Midwest. So,
you know, outside of that one girl on CNN, because Abby Phillips is, you know, I want her to be my boo, but I know I really couldn't stand her in the long run. But she's a good-looking woman. She's a good-looking, dark, well, not even dark skin, but, you know, brown-skinned woman, right? Can't say she's one of them high yellow bitches, right? I like Abby Phillips, right? But she's the only really good-looking woman right now on the liberal mainstream media. They had Tiffany Cross at one point. I hated her, but she was cute. But generally speaking, and there's a theory that at play here. Liberalism hates beauty. And so you notice it becomes almost like a feedback loop too, where like liberal women, because they reject the traditional paradigms of things, they also have to reject the traditional understanding of beauty and attraction. And so what you'll wind up with is, what's the name of that chick who's Black Jesus now? Was it Eva, Evie, some weird, Aviro? Cynthia Erivo, that's her name, Cynthia Erivo, right? You get that type of look. Let me pull her face up real quick so you guys know what we're working with here while I give you this dissertation on liberalism and ugly bitches. Because liberalism is really at war with basic tradition, it leaves us with the enemy of beauty as beauty itself. This is like liberalism attacking our collective understanding of what beauty is. And so in their war against beauty, what they seek to do is make the ugly beautiful. And because you can't, well, one ugly and beauty are relatively subjective. Relatively. I don't know if they're totally subjective, but they're attempting to maximize that effort as much as possible, right? And so they will psychologically encourage us to accept ugly as beauty. But because beauty is actually in nature, true beauty comes from nature, true beauty is divine, they have to actually restrict our access and our image of true beauty. And so what winds up happening is the left, you see this in video games, girls can't be sexy and hot in video games. They have to be frumpy and dykey in video games. Black women who in the 90s, it's almost universally accepted that the 90s produced epic Black beauty. Some of our favorite women right now were in their prime in the 90s. And somewhere between then and now, we started to produce this type of shit. I blame the gays, honestly. I blame the gays. I blame bitches like Queen Latifah. You know, once we started being proud of Queen Latifah, it was a sign of the end. Yep, hag maxing. But I blame the gays. Gay women were the perfect vehicle for women to become ugly and still be valid. Gay women made ugly bitches valid. If it wasn't for gay women, ugly bitches would be nice and polite and friendly, wouldn't give you no problems. Now ugly bitches just as angry and attitudey as bad bitches. It's all fucked up. All the wires are crossed. The numbers don't add up no more. This shit's all wrong now. But I blame the gays, I swear.
That's what got me interested in politics, and now we're in the White House.
Hey, what's something that the vice president wants all Americans to know about?
And look, you see? Look at the chat. Look at the chat. DeRob20 in the chat says, Queen Latifah is beautiful, though. That's how the gay bitches trick you. That's how the Drake, yeah, that's how the gay bitches trick you. You're like, yeah, that's a star, but I still hit that. Next thing you know, all these bitches is fat and bald-headed, bro. Don't trust me. This is science, nigga. This is science. This is scientific. Trust the science, bro. Trust the science, bro.
That we are going to be able to lift half of America's children out of poverty.
Great. Before you go, what's the best piece of advice you give to someone who wants to work in government but doesn't know where to start?
Oh my goodness, the best piece of advice, take the informational coffee. Ask someone to coffee and just ask them questions. Take the informational interview. Heck, volunteer to bring me some coffee and I'll talk to you in my office. Rachel on my team knows that's the best time to catch me. But do some things, be willing to volunteer, do some things for free. Get your foot in the door, get in the room, because there is not a dearth of things to do around here. We need young, bright, innovative, creative minds to help get this stuff done. All right, y'all, I gotta go. I need some more lemonade and we got a meeting, okay?
So that's who is replacing Joy Reid now. Now, Joy Reid wasn't going to win no beauty contest in this lifetime or the next three, but it's really not a step up either. It's really more like a lateral move. But I bet for the price of one primetime Joy Reid, you got two blacks and a Latina. Economically, I guess it works, right? Economically, I suppose it works, but power moves, man. Somebody had to make the big move. Now let's take a look at some of Joy Reid's hits.
I want to ask you, George, because the thing about it is, it's funny until he actually wiretaps a member of Congress, right? I mean, you had the DC, U.S. Attorney from DC literally threatened Chuck Schumer over something he said a few years ago about how, you're going to feel the wrath of the American people. He's like, oh, that sounds like a threat. Anyone who says any criticism of the Doge kids, he could literally have your house raided. I mean, this is the threat that Republicans and Democrats are now living under.
And indeed, the United States attorney across, down the street is writing letters to people who criticized Elon Musk and saying,
I don't know that in any of our lifetimes, right? Because you could be in your 60s at this point, but any of our lifetimes, I don't think anyone has seen the mainstream media in such obvious fear. Just fear and palpitations. They are legitimately worried about just their livelihoods in general. They are just generally like, you know what? Things are looking kind of rough for us right now.
Please explain yourself. So this is not a good development. These, we have prosecutors who are basically openly threatening people with investigations. And we have a guy who's basically said that's what he, if he doesn't shut down the Hoover building, which I guess he's not going to now that he gets to occupy it, he's going to use it to carry out the
the most absurd moment at the confirmation hearing came when the Democrats showed
saw what some of the content was in the books. I mean, explicit, graphic, sexual content. And I'm happy to talk about some of that content if you'd like to.
Well, this is the question again. The books that are being banned, I want to give you just some.
You guys remember that time Joy Reid was actually defending what was essentially pornographic material in children's school libraries? Yeah, it was wild times. She had the Trump hat on, and it was crazy.
Being banned.
Hold on a second.
Well, no, Joy, but I want to be clear. No one's banning books. Write the book,
Well, the Trump
print
hair
the
hat,
book,
rather.
publish the book, put the book in the public library, sell the book, right? We're talking about a public school library. Children don't have unfettered access to the internet at school. I did a FOIA records request, and I wanted to see what kinds of internet sites are banned in schools, if we're going to talk about banning, right? And the subject matter in the books that moms are concerned about are the same things that kids don't have access to on the internet. So it just feels very hypocritical, right? No, why is no one out there protesting for, free the internet in schools?
Let me give you
saw what some of the content was in the books.
What is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia.
Fun fact, this is the exact type of book that would have gotten burned back in Berlin when my Uncle H was on his way up the ladder. When Uncle H was a big stepper, this is the exact type of book that they burned. You know how people always cry about, Uncle H and all of his H homies, they were burning books. What kind of guy burns books? I mean, what kind of savage would burn a book? Well, it's a book about boys getting touched by their relatives. And it's not even like, a true crime story. It's like my journey. This is the story of a young gay male. Like they made it into a novel. Like, no, fire. Let it burn.
Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you.
Joy, I think you should answer
Tell
that
me
question.
what the context.
Before you quit, before you leave, you should just you should double back, like Jen Psaki used to say. You should double back and answer that question. At what point is a dildo acceptable in a public school? In theory and practice and conversation, at what point does this become acceptable? Like there should be a sign, like, how they say no drug dealing within 300 yards of school grounds. You should add dildos to that list, right? Just in case, I'm not saying it's happening like that, but you never know. Apparently people don't really have the same rules about what's appropriate or not for children. So maybe you should put that on the drug dealing sign. No drug dealing, no dildoing within 300 yards of a school zone, okay? Don't whip them out. Don't talk about them. Don't show them to people on your phone. Like, look at this cool thing I just bought on eBay. None of that. None of that. Walk down the block before you do that weird shit. How about that? Can we do that? Can we agree on that at least?
Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No,
wait,
we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now, what is the expertise
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly.
Oh shoot, I was muted this whole time. What I was saying is we are about to run this over to Rumble. If you haven't done so already, please hit that link and follow us over to Rumble. We're going to shut this down. This thing's going mobile. We're going to take this over to Rumble. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys want to have a panel, by the way. If you guys want to have a panel and talk about this stuff, let me know. Let me know. I wasn't planning on doing a panel, but I will take the last bit of content we got left, and we're going to do that exclusive on Rumble. And so if you haven't hit the link already, the link is in the chat. We are going to Rumble after this next video clip.
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like...
During the Biden administration, Joy Reid. Well, let me actually start over. Let me start a little bit closer to the beginning. A lot of what's happening right now, this vibe shift that we're experiencing right now in American culture and politics, it's very much a backlash to not just long shifting trends in American demographics and social climate, but during the Biden administration, a lot of this racially aggressive propaganda seemed to hit a very loud crescendo. And Joy Reid was one of the loudest, most prominent voices representing this POC bitterness against white people. So much so that it seemed like that was the reason why she had this spot at MSNBC. And bet you didn't know this, just after Biden came into office, MSNBC actually took on a black female president. So they have a black woman who may or may not have some racial or political motivations she wants to play out. And this black woman, she gives Joy Reid prime pole position, the 7 p.m. prime time slot on cable news. And from that position, she went on some of the most incredibly racist anti-white rants. And now the nation, and apparently her own viewership, is pretty much over that sort of thing.
Green waterworks. White men can get away with that too. And it has the same effect. Even as the right tries to politicize the idea that masculinity is being robbed from American men by multiculturalism and wokeism, they still want to be able to have their tears. In America, there's a thing about both.
These are the people who say the undocumented, who they get to call illegal immigrants, like the Pilgrims had permission to come here, have to suffer the consequences of their actions, right? They made the choice to overstay their visas or come into our country illegally. So if they get deported, consequences. But you right-wingers shouldn't have to suffer the consequences of your votes. You don't want to be around me because I voted for fascism. No fair. I'm coughing on you with COVID, but you want me to wear a mask for your safety? No.
She is also the woman who told everyone during the holiday season that you should not visit your family members for Thanksgiving if they voted for Trump. Literally attempting to break up American families. The irony, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. The irony, this just doesn't happen. It's impossible to conceive of, but there's no way that I could be trying to explain to you how there is a black woman on television attempting to break up American families.
How dare you say that we are not interested in families in the Black community?
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have
That isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help Black people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this portion of the show. We are now moving exclusively to Rumble. I'm going to conduct the last bit of my content on Rumble. We're going to finish talking about Joy Reid's firing, go through some of her greatest hits, and then I guess we're going to have a quick panel. We'll see how quick the panel is. I don't know. Do me a favor, support the show. Hit that like button on your way out the door. Like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't hit that Rumble link in the chat, now is your last chance to get on the train. We are moving on out of here. YouTube, it's been fun, but you niggas don't pay me like I weigh. And so we on to more lucrative pastures. I'll catch you guys on the Rumble side of the game.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.